Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. We're sitting here again in this peaceful spot on the roof. Like a little oasis. As soon as we go out from this place, seems to be crazy. It's an intense time. But an intensive time is also a great opportunity. Many people are completely oblivious of the intensity of the situation, as well as what is really going on. On the other hand, people who inform themselves, they have the tendency to get a bit depressed. I've heard people who are not so young telling, oh, if it's just getting too bad, I've lived my life, then after all, I can always somehow commit suicide. Well, I wouldn't recommend this course of action, because there is a very dark force, anti-life at work. And if we think like this, and if somebody then goes for the act, then actually we are playing in their hands. No, what it is needed now is courage and strength. And actually, if we open up to that, there is such an intensity also positive there. We may see mainly the negative manifestations right now, but that intensity is both sides. And if we open up to life, if we open up to the positive, immediately we get lots of support also. And it's a great opportunity to live in a time like this, because if we take the trouble not to slip in the downward spiral and getting more and more negative, but to keep the touch with life, with consciousness that expands, with the light, then there is so much support. Within short time, we can get as much like we would in more peaceful, less intensive times. Take a long time of continuous opening and practicing. So it's worth the trouble that we are alert now, that we don't let the negative influences that are definitely, undoubtedly there, that we don't let them take over. Somehow we have to learn innocence. Innocence is something that everybody knows deep down, because we all were very innocent when we were babies. There we didn't have the choice, because the baby doesn't have a developed intellect with which it can disturb that direct contact, that innocence all the time. Then when we grow up, as we develop our capacity to think, to brood, to calculate, the tendency is there that the innocence disappears. It's still there underneath, but it's buried if we are not careful. But we can bring the attention back to that innocent purity. It's still there in everybody. And right now, this is the safest course of action. Bring the attention back to that innocent purity. What does it mean to be innocent? To be innocent means simply to be consciously alive now, without all the time brooding what has happened, what could happen, what goes wrong in the world, what goes wrong in the neighborhood, what goes wrong in my life, but just be consciously alive now and relax in that. And there we are touching that bubbling, beautiful source of life, like it's still there in babies, little children. They're functioning like it comes out in bursts without premeditating, without calculating all the time. Now we have an intellect that is developed, capable of functioning rationally, capable of making plans. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Simply, we have to learn to use it where it's necessary and put it aside where it's not necessary, where it's disturbing. Innocence is strength. With innocence, we develop self-confidence. And in that increasing self-confidence, we have also the capacity to deal with difficult situations. And even if we hear news that tell bad things that are on food, that may happen, that may get established for some time. If we have that confidence, then we just face it and simply go from day to day and make the best out of it. That's what we are here for. To learn, to grow, to become stronger with confrontations. And right now we have ample opportunity to do exactly that. Whatever we are hearing, whatever is going on, let's not get into that negative, destructive spiral and become more and more gloomy and depressive. And think, okay, the solution is that we are committing suicide. I have heard a number of people say, oh, if it's just getting too bad, after all, I have lived my life, then if it's getting too bad, somehow I will commit suicide. This kind of thinking is playing into the hands of that darkness that is against life, that tries to gain total control. Let's not slip into that, but see the situation as a great opportunity to become stronger, to make the consciousness more expansive. And with the increasing expansion of the consciousness, we become more and more aware that there, no matter what is happening, there is always the joyousness of existence there. It cannot be destroyed. It can be buried. We can put our attention everywhere else and be not aware of it, but it's never, ever absent. Without that source of life, of consciousness, of love, of energy, nothing would be there. Let's be strong and confident and increase that self-confidence. No matter what is happening, I can always connect with that aspect that is always present, that is not affected by the circumstances. Okay, I stop here, just talking away. Asking you, my friends, is there anybody who is already ready to come in? You're welcome.
I would like to.
Hello.
Hello, Werner.
What's your name again? Nava.
Nava.
Right.
Nava.
Right.
The one who sat on your roof a month ago.
Yes. I recognize your face. Simply, I didn't remember your name.
Fine. And what I wanted to ask is connected to what you're speaking about. The last couple of months, there has been so much sickness in my family.
Yeah.
I have a grandson who's a baby, and he's been sick all the time, and now he has pneumonia. My husband has been sick for months, and he had chest surgery a week ago.
Yeah.
And all sorts of other things. And sometimes I look at it and it feels like a circus. There's a certain, I don't know how to explain it, but you know, all this is going on. And most of the time, if I just stop, I feel something inside of me that has nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah.
Okay. And, but it's like, you know, it's like trying to hold a cloud. You see it, but you can't hold it. And the things you were talking about now, I can't seem to make what's happening inside more real, bigger. I don't quite know how to put it, but it seems to me that that's what's important. And unlike the past, it's there almost all the time.
Yes.
But it's so vague and so hard to touch, and I don't know how to bring it out more.
Yeah. It may, from the experience, it may look that it's like a cloud, that it always, you try to hold it, it disappears. But it never disappears. It's that which makes the experience possible. It's that which is always first, that sense of presence. And how can we make it stronger as an experience? Because it need not be made stronger. It's complete in itself, but the experience slowly can become stronger if we develop the capacity to bring the attention back to it. How are we going to do that? Find just some way that is the most natural, the most easy for you, that whenever you remember, whatever you are doing, that you consciously connect. And the moment you consciously connect, you learn to relax in it, to let go. Then, because when it's there and like the cloud and you try to hold it, it's gone. But if you feel that connection, and then instead of trying to figure out strategies how to keep it, you just relax. You let go even more. Without fear, if I let go, then it goes. We have the tendency when there is something and it feels fine, that we get all cramped up about it, trying to do something that it's not immediately disappearing, and that makes it disappear. So if you learn at that moment to just relax, it becomes smoother, easier, more often, and has the tendency that the experience stays longer. Out of habit, invariably, our attention will be yanked out again and again. But if we learn to consequently reconnect and learn to relax in that connection, in that conscious moment of feeling connected, just relax, then it starts to get established by itself. We don't really have to do anything more about it. How you are connecting is totally your own way, how you are going about it. Whatever works for you is fine.
One more question about that. Especially when I meditate, and so I'm so aware of what's happening. It seems strange to me that my body can be so restless, so anxious, so uncomfortable, and at the same time I can feel this. It doesn't make sense to me that the two can be so different.
Right. The body is usually always a bit slower. It needs its time. So even if you feel that connection, then that feeling of restlessness and tension may still be there in the body. And if the experience is very short and fleeting, we never get the body the chance to relax also. So make a point to physically relax. When you feel connected, relax your legs. Actually, people don't know, but whenever we start to build up mental tensions, invariably we are cramping up our legs without being aware of it. And if you consciously make a point, you relax your legs, you give also the body a chance to quicker let go of the tension that is still there. But it's going like this, that we learn to connect slowly, better and better, and it's like the body takes always a bit longer. The body is slower, but we can encourage it by consciously also relaxing on that level. We may not be 100% successful, give the impulse to relax, and it's not relaxing so very good, but still, just giving the impulse to relax will do something that also on the physical, energetic level, it does change somewhat. And my experience is, especially if we learn in tense situations, first to relax the legs, then the whole rest of the body also will start to relax. And when the whole rest of the body also relaxes energetically, also it starts to relax, and that feeling of tension and restlessness starts to disappear. Don't be disappointed if it doesn't work immediately fully. But if we go about it, doing that again and again, it's getting easier and easier.
I haven't been able to do that. What's happened is there's such restlessness in my arms and legs.
Yeah.
That it doesn't feel like tension even. It's like almost movement inside.
Yeah.
And so I just I get on with it because that doesn't seem to go. Mm-hmm. And it's more a matter of just letting it be because it doesn't change very much.
Right. That's good. That basically you accept it's there. But then still you can give the impulse to relax. And if it's not going immediately, you can again accept that it's not going immediately.
which it is not.
Yeah,
I
but
will try that.
still, you do give it a better chance if you consciously give the impulse, relax, relax. And
I will
we may
try
have
that.
to do that again and again and again, and gradually it will start to function, and eventually it's possible that you give the command, you give the impulse, and immediately it starts to relax.
Okay, I will try.
Yes, I wish you a lot of courage and perseverance with it.
Thank you.
Just be careful, right? Acceptance is good, you're right. Not that we get all cramped up trying to relax. Huh? Relax, relax, and trying to relax, getting more and more tense about it. Okay, just relax as good as you can, and if it's not working so wonderfully, can also accept that for the time being, that's that.
Yeah, I like the idea of sending the message to relax, even if it doesn't.
Yes, it
Because
does still
usually
a little bit something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just work with acceptance, and that does not seem to have changed anything.
But it's good. I mean, acceptance is basically the prerequisite that you can work constructively. But now you can, on top of that, give that impulse. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wish you well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come? You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Liora.
Yeah, I
another-
just came back from a what?
Another Israeli.
Yeah, they're Israeli.
Yeah, she also is an Israeli, Neva.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, according to the name, it's a
Yeah.
very Israeli name. Yeah, I just came back from a long walk in the forest around here, where I was sitting last week with all of you, with a friend, and we spoke about the situation in Israel, but not so much about the situation, more about how we deal with it, or how we deal in any difficult and complicated, complex and sad and sometimes hopeful or hopeless, where we can't see the light. Can we see the light? So, and specifically we discussed something, I won't go into the details, but a reaction was like, at that point, she had an opinion, like, okay, so let him, whatever, it was something about the situation.
Yeah.
What I call the situation, about so, and there I was like, okay, what do I do now? I mean, we're both very aware and very like doing all the spiritual work and practicing, and then all of a sudden it seemed as if it was her limit.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go. I also couldn't go into a negative interaction or something. I also couldn't really, I didn't know how to do it, but her reaction was sort of difficult for me. And I tried to explain her how I appreciate this person and how important that he takes a specific place, a point of view and defends it and all that, which is positive altogether, in my opinion anyway. And so I sort of wonder, also a bit connected, of course, to how you answered Nava before. So we all have our limits as human beings. And at one point, we lose it.
Yeah.
This week, I had my neighbor came with her cup of tea or whatever, and she saw me with my cup of tea, so she just sat down and we spoke, and she told me about America and how what they're going to do there, and I just stopped her because I just couldn't hear it. It was a plan for the trip in 2 months, and I was so much under the impressions of what is going on here, and yeah. So I just told her, listen, I just can't hear it now. I mean, it's too much for me. I'm too disturbed and bothered and yeah, occupied my mind, even though I can relax, but still I just couldn't hear all that. Yeah, no, for me it was nonsense. I'm sorry to be a bit negative. So I lost it there. I wasn't patient. I lost, I mean, she accepted it. It's fine. It wasn't very rude the way I said it. I really explained it. I also apologized to her. I'm sorry. But I told her I'm really disturbed now, really, really upset and disturbed. So it's like, really, I remember one teacher telling me, or I told him and he accepted. It's like really walking on a very tight rope, as we said. Yeah, sometimes it really gets difficult. I mean, I want to go back to this place of my little grandchildren, how they just like go angry or sad and they just express their emotions like they couldn't care less about us around it. They just go do their things.
Well, we don't have to become little children again. We just can get inspired from how they are still connected to an innocence that we have the tendency to have forgotten as in the process of growing up and living the serious life. You said everybody has their limit. Yes, I mean, habitually as a personality. And sometimes, right, a person is being at the limit and then what comes out may be a bit destructive. And we can be patient with that and accept, okay, that went a bit beyond the limit. Basically, as a being, we don't have limits like this. It's just when we hold on to our usual story, then out of habit, at a certain point, it's just too much, and maybe one explodes or makes destructive remarks, or that are not necessarily the most harmonious thing to do. Okay, if it has happened to somebody else, you can very well accept, okay, and most of the time, like you said, you didn't feel like getting into a big discussion about it. Most of the time, it's better to just let it pass. If it's happening to yourself, then once you see it, there, actually, I reacted. It was not really necessary. And there, if it asks for it, if it's necessary, why not an apology? And then it's fine and let go. But don't hang on to it and think, oh, it's bad that I reacted like this.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I just felt like, just sharing how difficult it is now when there is so much violence. And as you described also in your short talk in the beginning, and yeah, it's very difficult.
I hear from the alternative news. Actually, I'm not listening and reading that stuff, but Sudha does, and she tells me all the things.
Oh,
And yes, it's quite heavy in Israel right now. No? It's no fun what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's the whole thing, that same thing is boiling everywhere. Some places it's manifesting already more intensely than in others, but one can get very upset about what's going on. But being upset is not helping. Seeing what's going on and then learn to still bring the attention back to that aspect that is not affected. That is the important part. That is for your own sanity and for your own life, the best thing you can do. And actually it's the best thing you can do also for the collective, because there, if we connect, there we connect with the beauty and the creativity, and something can flow through you in the current of this manifestation and has a creative and positive effect.
Yeah, I know I can do it. I mean, it happens to me a lot, only I hear it so much from you. Sometimes I just don't see the beauty.
Yeah.
I see other qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I have a bit limited definition about the word beauty. Maybe beauty is very casual and like it's there all the time, but sometimes maybe I tend to imagine that beauty is really beautiful, but sometimes beauty is just like very simple, like a small ant walking or me walking or whoever, whatever.
It's part of life. Look out of the window and you see a tree.
Yeah.
And what a beauty it is. We just got used to it and don't see the beauty anymore because we overlook it. But it's life manifesting. Just look at the branches and the leaves and the wind that is moving it all. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, high expectations from the word beauty. It's true. Simplicity. Yeah. Okay, Werner.
And that beauty is still there in spite of all the human craziness. Huh?
Yeah, this I have to remember what you say to connect to this place, or I don't know exactly the word, I forgot what you were using, which is not affected.
Yeah.
But whatever is happening, this is a strong.
It's never absent. It's always here. Without that, no experience would be possible. So it's there first. However much we forget about it, it cannot possibly be absent. That aspect, that space, that
aspect, yeah,
that essence that is not affected by it. It's never absent. And so we have all the time the possibility to bring the attention back and relax in that. Learn to get rooted in that.
Yeah, and then juggle among the difficulties, and yeah, okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Juggle is a good word. Learn to be playful about it. Yeah.
It's juggling. It's absolutely juggling. It's
yeah.
Like our teacher in Israel, Stephen Fulderi, says, life is a dance.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Shall we leave it at that?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Life is a dance. Yes, it's good to find that playfulness. It's also a part of that innocence I have been talking about in the beginning. That capacity to be playful in life. Even if the circumstances are not very funny, still we can keep that attitude of playfulness, and it makes everything easier. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. It's good also to remember, to remind oneself. Something that I'm saying a lot. It helps to relax more. It helps to detach more. This whole manifestation is not as real as it appears. There is a base that is there, and we join in with our conscious experience. Then we perceive that reality totally formed, shaped by the 5 sense perceptions. What we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we smell, what we touch. And out of that we are creating that reality. But that reality is not as real as it appears to be, simply because we perceive it with our sense perceptions. And our sense perceptions, they are momentary, a point here, a point there. And then out of that, we are forming a picture, creating our reality. Here now, momentarily, it's real. It's real as an experience. But the content is totally shaped by the way we are perceiving. The 5 sense perceptions, and then the habitual way how we are filter our experiences, our perceptions through our mental filter that we have developed over time and holding on to and feel that's me, that's my character, that's what I am. That's just the role that we are playing. Is it real? Is it unreal? Both statements are not quite correct. Both statements are not wrong. There are these 3-dimensional pictures, computer created. They are on a flat 2-dimensional surface, and usually it's just patterns, lines of patterns. And if we just look at it, we see just patterns. If we happen to focus the eyes in the proper way, actually the trick is that these are these lines and they are near identical but not quite identical. And if we fix one eye on a point and the other eye on the near identical point in the next pattern, then a three-dimensional picture comes out. The picture is not there on that two-dimensional surface. And yet, we can see it, we can look away, we can look back, focus the eyes properly, and we see it again. And somebody else, if they have two seeing eyes, two eyes are necessary. with one eye, these three-dimensional pictures cannot be seen. But if somebody else has two seeing eyes, focus properly, can see that picture. And usually people say that's the proof of reality, that others can see the same thing. But is that three-dimensional picture real? We see it, but it's something that two sources of information on the same level, on the seeing level, two sources of information slightly different are capable in our brain to produce that three-dimensional picture. Now our life experience of this world has not only these two eyes, but we have the smell, the taste, the touch, and we hear. Those five sources of information that are being filtered through our habitual mind, how we are reacting to certain things. And there, out of all this, we are creating our world reality, what we are experiencing. As an experience, right now, it's real, it's alive. But as soon as that is gone, it's just a memory. Now somebody with another mental setup can see and hear and taste the same and has quite a different life experience and creates a different reality. If somebody comes and has different sense perceptions, somebody maybe sees electromagnetic fields, immediately the whole reality changes. The same base is there, and how we are perceiving that base, we are creating our reality. And in that reality, we identify with that perceiver, with that person that is perceiving all that. But that person actually in itself is part of that reality creation that we are somehow continuously doing with all the inputs that are coming from that base. It's real, it's unreal. It's not as real as it appears. It's good to remember that, to remind ourselves, especially in tough situations. And also in situations when we acted in ways that we after that think, okay, that was not so nice, that was not necessary. Okay, has happened, it's an experience, it's gone. Right now, I'm here, I can come back to that innocent purity of simply existing, of simply being. But when we are in the midst of action and full of tension, sometimes it helps to relax a bit easier, to remind ourselves, hey, come on, it's not as real as it appears. It's a magic show into which we have come to learn, to have the possibility to experience this, to have the possibility to have these confrontations, and in course of the process can become more self-aware and learn to grow and outgrow all that. By increasing the capacity of bringing the attention back to that aspect that is not affected. That's what you really are. Not this person. This person is just a reflection of what you are. This person is just a role that we are playing in this matrix, in this magic show. You are in it and you are out of it. However tense the situation is, it's still a fact. And if it's not an immediate direct experience, just reminding ourselves of that helps to take it less serious, less heavy. It doesn't mean we become incapable of functioning on that level. It doesn't mean that we become callous, indifferent in a sense that we just care about our own little petty story and don't care about anybody else. Doesn't mean any of this. It simply means no matter what we are seeing in a personal story or in a more worldwide story or in the story of a little group, our relatives, our village, our country, that we learn not to be overwhelmed by it, not to take it so serious, knowing it's a momentary appearance. It's not as real as it is. There is that which is prior to that, that which makes the experience possible. It's here, it's now, it's timeless, it's never absent. How we are connecting doesn't matter, but one aspect, no matter what way we are using to consciously bring the attention back to that one aspect, is important that we learn to connect it to whatever we are doing. Learn to relax in it. In that relaxation, the burdens that we are holding on to start to drop off, and we coming back to that, what I have been talking about in the beginning, that innocent purity. Again, I'm asking you, is there anyone who would like to come? You're welcome. I see that we are also not so many people today. So less subjects to discuss about. But if anybody would like to come, you still can come.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Mariam?
Hi.
Ah, yeah, there
Yes,
you are.
it's me. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, quite fine. You are
Good.
getting ready to fly, huh?
Oh, yes, yes. Today I will take my backpack and start a bit of the backing. And yeah, I'm excited and happy. Yeah, and then I thought today, I don't know, it just came up in my mind and I want to ask, maybe you can make an explanation about the two words which I mix up regularly. And I haven't, read anything about it, but I often heard about the self, you're talking about the self. And there is aham and atman. And
Yes.
can you maybe explain me again the difference or how I can see that?
Yes. Well, the difference is according to the interpretation we are giving to them. The aham means the I, and the self means the self. Now, people have the tendency to say I and think not of the self, but of that role that we are playing. I am like this, I'm like that, I have this name, I have this whole story there, the past, and that is I. But that I-ness in that story is just a reflection of that real I, of the self. Basically, they are the same. Simply, if we are interpreting it differently, they become different. Ramana Maharshi, in order to point that the aham means the self, often he used the word aham, the I. So not to get confused that when he says aham, that with the me personality. If we don't confuse the I with that personality, then aham and atma is the same.
Ah, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Atma is the translation of self. Self is the translation of atma. And aham, the translation is I. And if we are not confusing in our mind that they are different, then they are not different.
Okay. Yes, that's good, because maybe sometimes I couldn't I thought it's a difference somehow, and I didn't realize what it was. But you say it's aham is the reflection of the self?
No. Aham.
Or what?
Aham is I. And basically that I is the self. But if we are attaching a form, a name, and the whole story to that I, then that I in that me personality is only a reflection of the aham. And so, but it was just for the sake of making that clear. Sometimes Ramana was making the difference of the aham and the aham. But it was something unique to him, the I and the I. To make clear that that I, which people usually think they are, I means having a name, having a form, having so many years, having a past, having a story. But that is just a reflection. That's not really the I. The I is the self. The aham is the atma. And then what in Sanskrit, then the reflection, actually the personal I becomes the ahamkara, which often is translated as the ego. But then the ego is again a difficult word, because in psychology the ego is used very differently.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That you should make a strong ego, strong personality, and all that stuff, and then comes all that the spiritual guys and says say you should get rid of the ego.
Yeah. That's very confusing sometimes if you especially go through psychological education here in Western society, and then you're like, okay, everything I thought I am, I have to get rid of it.
Right. It's good to make the personality strong, knowing this is just a role. But if the personality is strong, it's easier to detach than a weak personality is always holding on for dear life to all kinds of things. If there is self-confidence in the personality, then it's easier to just relax and go beyond the personality. So in that sense, it's not a contradiction. Simply the whole way the ego is glorified, rather in psychology, is a different way of using the word. That's why I say it's a bit delicate to translate it like this. But the ahamkara is that reflection.
Okay. So, and if I do self-inquiry and ask myself, who am I?
Yes.
I ask the question to dissolve kind of the role I'm playing, but come back to the self.
Yes. There is no answer. It's not an intellectual question that eventually you get it. That eventually it makes click and you understand. If you brood long enough, finally you understand. It's just one way to withdraw the attention from our mental obsessions, from the fixation on the sense perceptions, from all that picture that we have created, and bring it back to the source, to that real I, to the I, or the Atma. And there is no understanding, there is no explanation, there's just the conscious experience of it.
Yeah. All right.
Very good.
Thank you.
See you soon in Peru.
Yes, I will let you know when I arrive and have already possibility to talk.
Very
I'm
good.
happy to see you. Yes, thank you.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Self-inquiry can be done in different ways. Often Ramana's followers, now it's less. When I came here first time, a bit more than 40 years ago, there were still all these camps saying, no, Bhagavan meant like this, in this way. That's the proper self-inquiry. Others said, no, you can do self-inquiry like that. That is the proper way of doing self-inquiry. Ramana didn't care that people do it this way or that way. He actually gave also slightly different instructions to different people how he felt was best for them. You can do self-inquiry in different ways. But the point of it is not that eventually you get an understanding. You go beyond an understanding. It's just one way to bring the attention back to that completely unexplainable and yet in a way so totally simple reality of existence. That sense of presence that we immediately touching when we say I, without a thought. Immediately, there is that most familiar sense of presence. And the question that Ramana has propagated, ask who am I? Is not an intellectual question that eventually gets an answer. Actually, for the mind, it's frustrating because there is no answer. As soon as we start to give answers, then we have the tendency to get stuck already again on the intellectual level. Well, there is the traditional approach of I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I'm not the feelings, I'm not the prana, I'm not that this. And then eventually comes the answer, I am that. I am Brahman. If one is then satisfied with that as an answer, then one is already stuck again. Okay, I got an answer, but actually what is Brahman? What is Atma? It's just, these are words that we use as a pointer, but it's not defining in any way reality. So the question doesn't have an answer. We can use the question to bring the attention to the present, and then it has the tendency to more turn from the who am I in that simple awareness I am. I am. One may also help with the repeating for some time the thought I am. I But then more and more, we can bring the attention to that sense of living presence that we are touching with that statement. When we say, I am. And then there is only silence. No more brooding. What exactly is it or not? Simply being. But how we are doing exactly self-inquiry, everybody can find out their own flavor of it, their own way to go about it. What matters is that it helps to bring the attention back, not that we make it into an intellectual question to which we have an answer and then think, okay, I got it and I'm on top of the situation. I as a person cannot be on top of this situation because I as a person has to let go and the attention has to come back to the I, which is prior to the person, prior to the ego, prior to the whole story, prior to the details of the perceptions, but at the source that which makes the experience possible. This actually is the essence of all the practices, no matter what we are practicing, not simply self-inquiry. Any practice basically should bring you back to that source. Okay, I'm asking once again, does anybody want to say something? You're welcome.
So I'm back.
You're welcome. Since nobody else wants to talk,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
I was wondering about this, what you say about to not be affected, but whatever happens. And I can see how I actually want to be affected, as if, first of all, I feel responsible somehow, that maybe if I do so and so, I can change the situation in my everyday life, smaller circle, bigger circle. I can influence, I can make it better. I'm laughing a little bit when I say better, because actually there is no such a thing as better. I know, I mean, it is good as it is now. I often feel that way, but still it's confusing. Like, also a little bit, I feel like it's immoral to not be affected or to not be involved. Like, you know, like I want to support other people that are doing so much in order to create a change, or yeah, and it's almost every sentence that I say now, I can hear your voice saying what you've been saying before. But still, as you also say so often, as I know, I have all these habitual ways of living, of being here. And also, like, what do I do when as if I need this, that it affects me so I can do things, like I'm going in circles.
Yeah.
And today, for instance, I really want to go to the demonstration in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
And I will probably go.
Yeah.
Like I want to be involved.
Yeah.
And yet I know that I can still, of course, remain somehow quiet, but yeah, and it doesn't mean that I don't care, even if I choose to not go. I care also, but still I can not be affected by it. So it's again confusing. I mean, I'm jumping from like
right, because the confusion comes because your identification with the I, when you say I am, is jumping levels to and fro. I'm not saying that you will not be affected. It's not that you have to become a stone. There is that aspect that is not affected, but it's not because it's isolated and it doesn't give a damn shit about anything. It's totally alive and aware of what's going on. But at the same time, no matter what's going on, it remains, it retains that innocent purity I've been talking about. Now, emotionally, as a manifested being, of course you will be affected. It's not that you should somehow try to clamp that down, that no matter what is happening, that you become sort of dead and indifferent about it. No, you can be very alive and see what's going on. But the emotions, if you are aware that there is always prior to that aspect that is not affected, then the emotions stay on the level where they belong and don't become overwhelming and destructive. And then you can do what you feel needs to be done. If you feel it's right that you sit in your house and you just connect, then you can be sure you are doing something very precious, very valuable, not only for yourself, but for the whole society. But if you feel like it's good to go out and walk on the road and be in the demonstrations or doing other things also, then by all means, then do them. But don't forget that there is that aspect that is not affected. Be rooted in that, and then your actions actually become much more powerful also. But I mean, somehow or other, we have to spend our time as long as we are appearing within time and space. So you can as well go and walk on the road in a demonstration.
That was a good point. That was a very good point to remind. Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
Not being affected has nothing to do how you are playing your role, what your turns your role is taking. Not being affected means that you are aware that you are prior to the emotional intellectual level. Emotionally, intellectually, of course, you are connected with what happens on that level, and there is a reflection. That means that you are affected on that level. But if we are totally identified with that, then we have the tendency to suffer hell because of it and make these emotions and the thoughts around so enormous that they are getting overwhelming and people suffer for it. And that suffering is not a duty we have in order to be to be loyal to the others who suffer. We just add more suffering. If on the other hand, you see those emotional reactions. You see the intellect, what immediately the barrage of thoughts that come to certain situations. But then you can step a step back and be aware that there is that essence, that immovable, like a rock in a river, that is just there. Then actually your actions and your very being in the midst of this crazy story is like a lighthouse. It's shining something beautiful through you on that emotional and intellectual level into all that tension and destruction and madness that is there.
Okay, thank you, Werner, for these beautiful words. It really gives me strength.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So wish you well, whatever you are doing tonight.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Does anybody else feel like saying something? You're welcome. Okay, seems not to be the case. Then let us again in today's satsang spend some time just with the help of that field of energy that we are creating by being together in that same subtle space, no matter where we are physically. Let us just be for some time. Be conscious. Be consciously conscious. Consciously alive. Here. Now. Here. Now. Timeless. Spaceless. It's good to sit comfortably, that the body doesn't disturb too much. Let the breath gently flow in and out and relax. Dive with the attention back home in that silence. The silence that is not dead, but in front of you is full of life, of the potential. To express in this manifestation. Whatever thoughts come, about before, about later, about anything, we don't have to get interested right now. Just don't get interested. just relax. And we just breathe in, breathe out, and relax. I am what I am. Not this, not that. I am. I simply am. Relax in it. Haven. This silence is the potential, has the potential of all the beauty, of all the happiness, of all the joy. The experience of that base can expand and expand. The potential of it is simply staggering, unfathomable. Here now, timeless, spaceless. Prior to the story, And even if we're becoming active again, physically, verbally, with people, with crowds, we can always bring the attention back to that base. It's never absent. Let's make that in our home. Live from that perspective, experience from that perspective. And that life experience will be full of joy and playfulness, expanding. I wish you all well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.